Hello everyone. So in this video, let us talk about implementing changes on Jira, and I'm making this video for Jira consultants, Jira admins, and I wanted to make this video and wanted to talk about it for a long time because this is something that we all face quite regularly. Now, if you're a Jira admin or if you're a Jira consultant, right, basically if you're someone who is talking to end users, right, then the way you would work is you would first take the requirements, and then you would basically note it down somewhere. You will try to understand what needs to be done, and you will of course try to clarify if you have any doubts, and then you will of course do it on your Jira instance. Now, depending upon what kind of changes you want to do, you will of course have a process. Now, if you're thinking of doing it on a production directly, then small changes here and there, of course, you can do that. And at the same time, if you are, let us say, developing a solution using script runner, or you're doing some development, then of course you would follow a cycle. Now, what happens with me? Like I'm sure it also happens with you as well. We sometimes, of course, have to be a bit more quick. For some reason. Now let me give you one example. Let us say if I'm talking to a project manager, and that project manager is quite familiar with Jira, but they are of course not an expert like you, and they have been working for it is not the first deployment or the first time they are using Jira, but they already are aware of how Jira works. They are aware of how the workflow works. They are aware of how the automations will work. But after working for a few months or few weeks, and maybe they are somewhere in the middle of their project, you then have to maybe do some change for them, right? Now, I always prefer having some kind of a process, which I always talk about, like let people raise a ticket for you, and then you review the requirements, you then analyze it, do some technical feasibility, and then you do it. Of course, you also have to figure out whether this change will impact or not impact other projects. So you have to do that. Now the thing is, if I'm talking to a project manager where they are already using something for a while, and their project is somewhere in between, so they are in a way also like a bit under pressure, or maybe they will put you in pressure that, okay, these are the requirements, can you please do it right now? So this is of course a difficult situation, and we try to of course avoid this, but sometimes you have to just go with the flow and make changes directly. Now ideally, as I mentioned before, if you introduce this process, or if you let your users know that no matter how urgent your problem is, or how badly you need this new status in the workflow, we have to follow a process. So this is of course very obvious, but I often encounter situations where I'm on a call and the project manager is asking me, Ravi, we want to make a change in the workflow. I say that, I tell them that, okay, we can do that, let me make a note of it and we'll do it. But they are a bit pushy and they request you nicely, of course, that can we please do this change right now. So of course, if you are an experienced Jira administrator, then you might be able to do those changes, because and also at the same time you might also be aware of the change or the damage it might do. Of course, adding a new status will of course not really have any impact, but of course you're adding a new status, which is again not really a nice thing. You should try to always reuse, and then it is again not always easy to reuse because the name mismatches, or maybe they are asking you to add a new field which they want to use, but you have to also add a context, and when you add a new context, you might realize that there is already a context which you have to change. So no change in Jira should be taken lightly. Any small change that you do, whether it will have an impact or it will not have an impact, it will change the way people and teams will work. And if you have a documentation along with your configurations, then again it's a massive problem because you have to also update your documentation. Now the problem is that sometimes you have to do these changes, like add a new field, modify the workflow, and maybe build some approval mechanism in the workflow. But at the same time, when you bypass a transition, or maybe you add some new transitions in your workflow, then you also have to take care of the automation rules. So the problem is that it's not a problem, it's more about, to be honest, I don't really think there is any easy solution. No matter what change you do in Jira, you can never 100% fully figure out dependent items, because not each and everything in Jira is not tightly integrated, or I'm trying to look for the word. For example, if you add a new status, then or if you remove a status, or if you modify some transitions, then you might have to also modify the listeners if you are using script listener. You might have to also modify automation rules if you're using automation rules. You might have to also, in some cases, let us say, modify the webhook, right? So many things can go wrong, so many things can change, and as I mentioned, it is not really straightforward or easy change that you can do straight away. Right, yeah, so I was talking about no change is straightforward, or you should treat it like this. But of course, if you're 100% familiar with the configurations, if you have been working for a while for that particular project or project manager, then I guess it is probably okay. And I do that all the time, because sometimes it is just easy to make a change straight away. But just trying to give you an idea and share that. Have a process wherever you can. Have some kind of change control board wherever you can. And again, there is no straightforward answer to this, because in Jira, as I mentioned before, there is no functionality. Maybe Atlassian can build a functionality where to be honest, in bits and pieces, it's already there. For example, if you make some changes to the workflow, then sometimes it will ask you to perform some migration. Let us say if you remove a new status, or if you remove a status, or if you add a new status, or if you do things that requires some kind of association or reassociation, then Jira will do that, and it has been there for a long time. I think maybe since the beginning. But maybe Atlassian can think of building some kind of functionality where it will guide you. It will maybe stop you from doing changes that will impact or that can potentially impact other projects or teams. And yeah, that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you found this video useful and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.